Now, I had my say at the top of the program about the way Andrew Thorburn was punted as the new chief executive of Essendon because he belongs to a Christian church. It's just extraordinary. It shows how far the left have pushed their culture wars and cancel culture. And it's time for mainstream Australians and their politicians to stand up for real tolerance and common sense. Here's Peter Dutton.
In our country, we have the freedom of speech and we have the freedom of religious association as fundamental elements of our society, of our democracy. And I think there has been a very egregious attack on an individual because of his religious beliefs.
Well said, Peter Dutton, but what a mess, and where to from here? Let me bring in Liberal Senator for South Australia, Alex Antic. Alex, I reckon this is a watershed moment, isn't it? Everyone can be tolerated in this country except Christians?
Yeah, well, Chris, I hope it is. I mean, we see this so often now, and of course we see it from woke corporates like the AFL who talk the language of diversity and inclusion, but actually what they really mean by that is uniformity and exclusion. You have to sign up to the sort of the MO of the organisation, and in this case, traditional values and those who hold traditional values inside clubland as well need not apply. I mean, I don't think if there was ever a more telling alarm bell being rung for those that hold traditional values, people in the church itself, to get involved in politics and start having your say, this must be it, because frankly, this is an egregious incursion into those traditional values and what it says for Australians, everyday Australians.
But it's a simple matter, isn't it, Alex? Tell me what would have happened if Andrew Thorburn's name was Mohammed Thorburn and he was linked to a mosque that had preached these values and was sacked on the basis of that. Do you think that there wouldn't be an absolute outcry around the country and the Australian Human Rights Commission and Equal Opportunities Commission wouldn't be involved here?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, it's a hypothetical, obviously, but it would be difficult to imagine a world in which that would be tolerated. And yet here we are, a person who was simply involved with the church, the head of a church that made this sermon. It wasn't even him that said it. It was a sermon that happened in the church back in 2013, almost 10 years ago, and he gets picked off the top of the hill for that. That says everything to me. I mean, I think we're living through a world where neo-Marxism is marching through our institutions. The corporates are front and centre in this. Make no mistake, the long march through the institutions has gone through the schools, it's gone through the political system, it's gone through the universities, and it's now front and centre with corporates and their ESG targets. And look, frankly, these organisations like the AFL, they need to make a decision as to whether or not they're there to play football or they're there as a corporation to make money and tackle those ESG targets. When I grew up, all I wanted to do was watch football, and I'm sick and tired of these leagues freelancing on these woke social issues. It's a disgrace.
Well, that's why I wish Andrew Thorburn had stood his ground. I mean, the point is that he's been tolerant and inclusive in the past. Back when he headed up the NAB, the bank actually sponsored the AFL. It's still a major sponsor, but he openly supported their first gay pride games, and he announced at the time that they're wanting to make it inclusive and nobody should be excluded from the bank, from the workplace, from footy, based on their gender identity or their sexuality. So he couldn't have been more upfront about his beliefs. But now he's sacked because he's belonged to a church who had someone 10 years ago say this. I mean, it is literally insane.
Yeah, look, it literally is insane. But once again, it rings the bell for those with traditional values to understand what we're up against. It's time for sitting back and thinking someone else will fix this is over. We need people with strong conservative views, everyday Australians, big L liberals involved with politics from now on. And that means getting involved in politics, registering a vote, making sure people who are pre-selected who will stand for these values without fear or favour get through, because frankly, politics can fix this stuff. It just needs to muscle up. Conservatives need to muscle up and have their voice heard. Otherwise, the corporate sector is going to continue to get with it, and we're going to continue to go through this. Same with the schools and universities. So there is a clear path here, but it's time that people understood what we're up against.
Yeah, well, I think this might be a bit of a watershed moment, because I know most of the media aren't getting fired up about this. Most of the media think this is okay, but I can tell you where mainstream Australians would be on this, and they can see exactly what's gone on here. And I hope they do heed your urgings there. Alex, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Good to be with you.